I'm going to be removing this strut today. I've already removed the ABC pressure hose, the fluid line, hydraulic line, and I'm now going to remove the caliper, and I'm going to remove the disc at the front, and then I'll be able to then get access and remove maybe these wishbone bolts from the subframe. The awkward bit is down here. This here, there will be the ball joint inside here will be stuck. It will be really hard work to remove. Okay, so that will be the real pain, because it's quite easy. If you take that bolt and that pulls out, and then you just undo some bolts at the top, and it should just pop off. But getting this off is the real hard work. To remove the caliper, it is an 18. There are two 18mm big bolts down the side here. You're going to need a breaker bar for this, and they are done quite tight. I'm also going to take this off. There's this little torque star thing, which basically holds the disc on. I'm going to do that while the caliper's in to stop things rotating. Okay, and then it should all come off. They're very heavy, these things, so do be careful when you remove them. Okay, so caliper's off. So now to tackle the steering arm. So that is a 21 nut. On this vehicle anyway, I thought it was always a 21, but that's a 22 over there. So I'm going to take off these two nuts now. As always, access can be a problem, so I can't get this on properly, so I'm going to have to take off the steering arm first. I've removed a nut, so it will be a bit solid in here. The way to remove this is just to get a nice hammer and hit this here. Hit it a few times, a good couple of blows, because if you put a puller on there, you could ruin this nice rubber ball joint gasket thingy you've got. If that splits, you've got to replace the whole thing. So hit this a couple of times. Obviously don't hit it too hard, because you can dent this, and obviously if you dent that, then it doesn't look good. So a couple of persuasive, you can spray some stuff in here, but I just find a couple of hits of the hammer and it will just drop off on its own. Just be patient and take a few minutes. Okay, it's dropped off. You see a few marks where I've hit it, but there's no damage done. Okay, so that's dropped off and looks good. And now I can get to this bolt over here. Okay, so the bolt is off. Now comes the fun bit. That is going to be solid. Now you can be tempted to start whacking this with a hammer. Now if you start whacking that with a hammer, you are going to change the shape of the end, and you will not get the nut back on. You could put the old nut on there and start tapping on the nut, but I do mean tap. Don't hit it hard, because if you then start changing the shape of the nut, you won't be able to get it off, and you won't be able to reuse this. So unfortunately, this is one of these problems where you've got to be very careful about how you remove this, because this will be stuck solid. Okay, so I'm going to have a little bit of a see how bad it is off camera, and then come back and let you know. Okay, it is solid. All right, so it's not budging. So the way I normally do this is to use some chisels. Now, don't get overexcited with the chisels, because what you don't want to do is damage the rubber ball joint. Okay, because if you damage that, then replacing that is a real difficult task with these things. They just don't, it's not a screw on, screw off thing. So replacing that is one of the hardest things to do on these little things. So the way to do this is to get a chisel and go in from the top, but do it at an angle so you are not going to hammer into the rubber. Okay, so you would go down at like an angle like this, downwards, away from the rubber, but enough contact to get in between the ball joint and this little wishbone here. Now when you do this, what you're going to find is that the this ball joint is going to rotate, and then it will rotate all the way round and it won't work. So what you've got to do is get the second chisel and set it up from the other side to basically go, I normally go upwards like this, jam it in, and then get the second one and come in down here, and it will eventually pull it about and break the seal that's inside. Okay, so I've just knocked that chisel up there. It doesn't have to be hit really hard, you just gotta get the angle right, wedge it in there so it's kind of there and just still on its own, a bit solid, won't fall out. And now the key is to start getting the angle right and come in from above and go down into this one and get in and knock this out. It's not the easiest thing to do, it takes a couple of attempts. You can start swearing and get frustrated, but just bear with it. And there you have it. It didn't take long. You can see now it's out and there's no damage to the rubber. It was just a tiny amount that went in. You only really want the edge of the chisel to make contact, and it's enough just to break it. If you look, there's not much corrosion in there. It's amazing how cemented on and welded on these things get. And now with that out, all I need to do is go to the top of the engine now, and top of the engine, sorry, top of the vehicle, and you've got this connector which needs to be pinched. I can do it one-handed. Yeah, pinch and pull, and you've got 3 13mm nuts. And once you take them off, it will just drop down. Okay, so be prepared for it to fall off and catch it underneath. Don't let it fall a big height and drop onto the floor, blah, blah, blah. And she's out. That was quite straightforward, to be honest. They can be really difficult. Basically here, this could get really, really welded on. Condition of this is okay. It was working fine. You can see the dust cover is good. Normally these will split and you'll be able to see springs and everything on the inside. It's a bit rusty around here. It's only surface rust. I'm sure you could give that a bit of a brush and a bit of a wipe, and then a bit of a protective spray. But otherwise, yeah, not bad. So what's left now is to remove the hub. The hub is held on up here. Again, just take this nut off, hit this with a hammer, and then this will fall down. And then you've just got 2 big, I think they're 21mm nut and bolts there, and another one over here. And then this thing can just be prized out and it will just drop off. And it's very straightforward, really. It is heavy though, so be careful. Again, don't put your hands underneath it or whatever. Don't try and do this one-handed. They are heavy. Okay, so that's nut and bolts out. That nut and bolt is out. That nut is off, but this is still held on with a bit of just corrosion and what have you. I could go and stick something in here, in there, and you can see it will come down. It needs a bit more of a crowbar or something in there, a big breaker bar to do that. This one here needs a hammer. I'm going to have a go at doing this on camera, shall we? All right, so here it is. So big lump here, just hit it there a couple of times, a good bit of a whack. There you go. So be patient with it. I haven't done any damage to it. I don't know, 10, 20 hits, about a minute. So don't get too excited and really heavily it, you know. Now, this maybe, if I just pull on this, it might just come out, but I don't know. It's just got rubber bushes in there. and it's got the steering arm which is taking off, so I need a bit of a longer arm. So what do I have here? Breaker arm, will that go in there? Put that in there. Oh, blimey, stiff. Yeah, one-handed, it's not a good idea, so I'm going to do it off camera. And finally the hub is out. You can see it just fits up in there. It's just a squeeze fit. Okay, it's a little bit corroded, but with a bit of persuasion it comes out. Be careful with this shield at the bottom not to bend and what have you. But now that leaves me with access to the subframe.